All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, all across the globe, we are live on the network today. This is My Health, Your Health with Dr. Stroman. Today, we're going to be talking about health and financial education and empowerment on this wonderful virtual conference. I want to introduce the Dr. Anthony Stroman, ladies and gentlemen, as we go forward here on this wonderful time, health and wellness education empowerment virtual conference. I want you to meet Dr. Anthony Stroman, ladies and gentlemen, founder and CEO of the Stroman Enterprises, Inc., certified financial educator. He's also a global health and financial education and empowerment crusade director. I love it, ladies and gentlemen. Also, too, certified hydration specialist, cancer prevention educator, creator of the Kitchen Table Movement. Amen. Community Impact Award recipient and Global Initiative International Media Director. Also, too, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Stroman is also shares his expertise and knowledge and wisdom to destroy bad health and debt through education. Ladies and gentlemen, he conducts seminars nationwide with corporations, faith-based and community organizations, government agencies, and nonprofit and business organizations. He has appeared on nationwide radio and television. He helps people around the world, ladies and gentlemen, free themselves from the shackles of debt, credit, and mismanagement of health. I love it, ladies and gentlemen. So we're excited about that. Also, too, Dr. Stroman is a global crusade to destroy bad health and debt. And we want you guys to have some great opportunity to connect with him as well. So be sure to contact Dream Team Partner who invited you to this network today. We have some awesome doctors that Dr. Stroman will introduce as his special guest today. Also, too, ladies and gentlemen, how with the successful try, this is actually another part of that. Now, for some, I want to introduce some and present to others, Dr. Anthony Stroman. And his today's guests are Dr. Kevin McKinney, Dr. Yolanda Whyte, and Dr. Lynn O'Connor. So with that said, Dr. Stroman, all yours today, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vaughn. Thank you so very much for hosting this event with us. And I'm gonna jump right into it. It is going to be very educational because for those who know me, I'm big on education. So let me say a few things. If you saw one of the slides that Kevin showed, it was talking about mastering headquarters. Let's start with that because I want to say what I have to say very quickly. And many times when I'm doing seminars across the country, what I've learned over the past, I don't know, almost 30 years, is that no matter what it is, health, finances, it doesn't matter what it is. One of the missing ingredients, because many people don't progress because we haven't become what I call focused and concentrating and understanding, you got to be diligent about mastering headquarters. Many of the things you're going to hear today from our distinguished guests, you've heard some of these things before. But the question is, why haven't you done them? And my personal experience is this, is that we haven't mastered. Because a lot of time we hear a lot of information, but we're lacking in execution. And we know faith comes by hearing, but results come by doing. So I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about mastering headquarters because when you look at the first slide, and my background is finances and health together, and this was like almost 30 years ago. And God gave me the vision to put both of them together because you look around 8 billion people in the world, those two topics are inescapable. And there's an intersection between both, okay? Understanding that the financial piece that we're not going to get in today, that it causes so much stress, which weakens your immune system. Therefore, it can cause chronic diseases, inflammation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A recent report said because of financial challenges, mental health have increased by 50%. So they're connected. So here's the triangle very quickly. The success triangle is three things. And it doesn't matter because we have doctors on here, we have business people on here, we have pastors on here, we have people from all walks of life. One thing we all have in common, we all have a brain, we all have $1 billion temple, and we all have to manage our finances. No matter what it is, you got to master those things, right? So mastering headquarters is helping you to master your health. Now, some people say, Dr. Stroman, why are you so passionate about this health deal? Because what I teach, the power of preventing bad health and destroying bad health. That is my focus, how to prevent and to destroy. Attitude is everything, not to settle and accept. Prevent. We thank God for treatment. We need that. We thank God for healing. We need that. But if we concentrate and get serious about prevention, we can minimize some of the treatment and some of the other things. That's all I'm saying. Now, when I'm talking about this stuff, is in general terms, no condemnation, because we love all of you. But I'm going to give you some truths and some principles very quickly, and you can digest. You can take notes because I love teaching, so you can take notes if you like to. But that is the situation. We are destroyed because of a lack of health knowledge. And we understand the system programmed us to eat bad, drink bad, think bad. Okay? That's just the way the system is. It's a system that's set up, it's a profit-based system. And I don't mind people marketing and making money off their product, but when it's destroying your billion-dollar temple, I have issues with that. So we have a lot of work to do to re-educate our people in churches and communities across the nation by the millions, because they don't know. And some of them don't know that they don't know. So let me get out of the way and talk about mastering headquarters. I'm going to give you a couple of principles. Nothing changes until your mind changes about headquarters. Let me say it again. Nothing changes until your mind changes about headquarters. The key thing one of the key things that we miss, you got to realize how valuable you are. When you devalue yourself, then you can treat your body any kind of way, because you don't understand how fearfully and wonderfully made that you are a masterpiece made by God. When you start getting that in your core belief systems, that wait a minute, I've been engineered by God. Let me take care of this billion-dollar temple. That's number one. The lifespan of a thought is determined by how much attention you give it. Think about these principles very quickly. The lifespan of a thought is determined how much attention you give it. The battle is between what I call DTIS and VTIS. DTIS is destructive thoughts, ideas, and suggestions. VTIS is victorious thoughts, ideas, and suggestions. Everything comes in the entry point of mastering your mind. The most difficult project in the world is the reconstruction of the human mind. It is difficult. And guess what? You can do it, but it takes diligence and effort and energy to make it happen. The most difficult project in the world is the reconstruction of the mind. Every thought has a life or death component attached to it. This is why every morning, and I get up in the morning, I focus the first thing on, I got to make sure, I call it mind management. I got to make sure I put nothing but good things in my mind the first thing in the morning. I don't watch the TV, and none of that stuff, because I know that starts my day. That's why my days are 7 days a week. I'm happy every day. It's because what I do in the morning. An out of control mind equals an out of control life. When it comes to health, out of control mind and the way you make decisions about what you put in your temple. Now, we understand moderation is the key. Out of control life. It's not your fault, because you've been victimized by a gravitational pull of the world system. They program you to eat that. And what's so crazy about it, you can eat delicious food and still satisfy your taste buds. The system robs your taste buds thinking that you got to eat bad to enjoy your food, because it gives you short-term pleasure, but it gives you long-term pain. Think about that. When you eat bad on a regular basis, short-term pleasure, but long-term pain. Next principle very quickly. Health knowledge in its proper use wins health battles. I said health knowledge, and you're going to get that from these distinguished guests. Health knowledge in its proper use wins health battles. Information does not bring transformation, conversion does. We hear information, but if you don't convert that, I said information does not bring transformation, convert, because we hear it all the time. But guess what? Many people have become professional hearers, but amateurs at doing. Whoa, professionals at hearing, but amateurs at doing. So what I'm going to say very quickly, because if you notice the first slide, I am a certified hydration specialist. So I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 minutes about the power of water. And then I'm going to get out the way and take some notes, because I'm here to learn. Well, I was blessed to attend a school to become a certified hydration specialist. So let me tell you some things about why this water deal is so critically important. And 90% of your blood is made of water. The older you get, you begin to drop on the inside. Folks, this water is serious. When you drink regular water, you have large clusters. That's why many people who drink regular water and tap water, things of that nature, they're still dehydrated because your cells are not being properly hydrated. When you have small clusters, now your cells are hydrated, now your immune system is strong. Your body, 70% water, your brain, 80% water. Why do you think we have an epidemic? Part of the reason we don't drink enough water, Alzheimer's and dementia, and other chronic diseases. Clean blood equals clean water, okay? The report saying that 90% of people in America are clinically dehydrated. Water brings oxygen, which helps your cells, which can kill dangerous pathogens. I want you to do me a favor. Go to this website, ewg.org. This is a governmental site. Put in zip code and put in tap water. It's going to give you a report card of the water in your house. Folks, this is what your kids are drinking, your grandkids are drinking. So you need to know what's going on, okay? 2% drop in water hydration would affect your brain function. Dehydration causes so many illnesses, folks. I remember when my mom was challenged a little bit with the hydration situation, and we recognized her cognitive skills begin to diminish. We gave her this certain type of water that I drink, and guess what happened? It turned everything around. She lived to be almost 100 years old. And we believe not only just praying about it, but the natural things that we have to do. I don't have time to break this down, but you must understand, beloved, that you must master the spiritual side and the physical side of health. They must kiss. You cannot ignore the physical laws that are in place. When you violate those laws, we have some issues. Water has life-giving properties, okay? Life-giving. You have 5 defense systems in your body, 5 major defense systems, and all of them, if you want to operate at a peak level, requires water, okay? People's brains are shrinking because of water. I'm going back into the school system because these kids drinking these sodas, I don't have time to break that down. It's affecting their brain and their behavior. Kidney failure because of dehydration, blood pressure, dehydration, joint pain, circulation. I can go on and on. Folks, here's the issue. I'm about to shut up. Some of you think, well, Dr. Stroman, I don't like water. Let me be as kind as I possibly can. It doesn't matter that you don't like water. God manufactured your body requirement for water. Use wisdom and intellect instead of your taste buds and your feelings. But here's the good news. There's things that you can put in the water with vitamins and minerals and organic properties that make the water taste good, okay? I want you to know that. Now, I use something very simple that helped my mom out, and I'll use it for the rest of my life. You see this little sachet I'm holding? This little sachet, what I do, I basically drop it in the water, and you can only find this one place near the Okinawa Island in Japan. And when I discovered this company had been around for 29 years. It cleans up the bad stuff in the water. It releases alkalinity. But here's the thing to make it unique. It also has 70 organic trace minerals. You're talking about amazing as far as my health is concerned because of that little sachet. Simple to use. I call it water insurance. Okay? And so what I do, and that's what I did with my mom to live so long, we believe she did that, and we gave her something else for her brain, and she was able to know all of us. Okay? So I saw this on the microscope when somebody was drinking regular water, and then we gave them this little sachet with water, and 30 minutes later, we saw the difference in their blood. Powerful. But here's a book that I'm going to recommend called Your Body Many Cries for Water. It says, you're not sick, you're thirsty. Don't treat thirst with medication. This is a powerful book. Your Body Many Cries for Water. I'm going to zip my lip because I want to get out the way. And I want to bring out these, I call them, I'm going to say OQP. See, what we have done, we put together dream teams of voluntary people all over the world. All over the world. We're doing this internationally. And we believe, because everybody got a gift, a talent, ability, and gift. And so we believe that we bring everybody together with this specific gift and who love people, because I stay in my lane. These distinguished people that you're going to hear from, they got a specialty that I want you to be blessed. That's why we do this. This is not a business opportunity platform. It is education. And so we understand we bring people together, then we can affect millions of people. We don't have to compete with one another. We can complement one another. Collaboration is what this crusade is about. This is why we put this thing together for years. That's why we're doing things around the world. So what I want to do right now, I'm going to step out the way and I'm going to bring on this brother. Now, you know, all of them got great bios. Because of time, I can't go into all of it. You're going to have their website information, all of that. I'm just going to highlight a few things. My first, what I call OQP, stands for Only Qualified Persons, is none other than Dr. Kevin McKinney. Okay? Now, he has an extensive background, folks. 25 years in healthcare. He's the president, CEO of Team 62 Medical Solutions. Listen to this. He performs molecular testing like cancer, genomics, genetic testing, and many others. He works with healthcare providers. He's been all over the world, okay? He also is an author. He sits on many boards and foundations. He's just a quality individual, and I am so thrilled. I thank God for connecting me with him. And I wanted him to come by for about 20 minutes to talk about what he does, his contribution for mankind, because it's all about raising the level of mankind. And Dr. McKinney is doing that, and he's all over the place. I love it. Hey, Dr. McKinney, can you come forward and share with these beautiful people, sir?
All right. Good day, Dr. Stroman. Good day. I hope everyone is doing well. Let me get right down to it. I want to first thank Dr. Stroman for this opportunity to discuss some key and vital keys to success and some of the background that I've had as relates to the experiences and really trying to work on the elements and characteristics of success for a very long time. So knowing how to build finances, I think, are extremely important. I'm glad you opened up like that, because when we start thinking about finances, it's the things that we don't learn in school, right? It's the things of how to take the numbers and make the numbers work for you and identify and how to analyze numbers so that you know when you're off track and when you're on track. And a lot of times business leaders fail to really dig into the numbers. And I guess it really didn't hit me until I actually went to and got educated around what the numbers really mean. So I spent time at Wharton Business School. I spent time at Wharton, Harvard Business School, and then I received my MBA at Columbia University in the city of New York. So I've had some matriculation at some different locations, but it's all been to pull out the best in me as it relates to what I'm doing. So I come from a background of sales and marketing and operations. Prior to that, I've got military experience where I spent time as an officer in the Air Force and spent time in many different countries. I've lived in 18 different places over my lifetime. And so you can imagine the different experiences that I've had just coming up as it relates to what we do each and every day. But I find this what my late uncle, Bishop J.L. Lippman, used to say it. He said, Kevin, whenever you're invited to speak, make sure that you show up to be seen, right? That's number one. Number two, speak up to be heard. And number three, shut up to be appreciated. And so our plan is to do those three things to you. So I'm not going to be too far or too long before you. But I did want to just acknowledge that my wife has been with me throughout the entire journey. She's been my yin and my yang. She's been my ep and my step, my app and my dap, and my ide and my glide. And so I have to acknowledge her. I've lived in these places, but I've lived in many worlds, right? Life as a son, life as a husband, life in the military, life in corporate America, and life as an entrepreneur. And when I think about life in the military, I told you I was a captain in the Air Force, and I spent time really working on strategy and strategic development and working on leadership and how to manage and how to do things in a very big and large way. While I was in the Air Force, I was responsible for the second largest fleet of vehicles in the world. It went from buses to the things that put things onto airplanes. And so we deployed to Desert Shield, Desert Storm. We did all of those types of things as well. And I'm sharing this with you because it ties to my story. You see, when I think about my story, it's built on the experiences that I've had over the years, because if I dive into where I am today, you probably won't grasp the gravity of the things that we've experienced. And so I wanted to at least give you a little bit of background. So that military was very important. Being in corporate America was very important, because when I left the military, I started selling drugs for a living. Legally, that is, with a company by the name of Novartis Pharmaceuticals. And in that position, I was a sales rep. And within 13 years, I was a vice president of sales, responsible for 1,200 representatives around the United States, selling drugs for a living, like Diavan and Lotrel and Voltaren and Elidil. And so it's a lot of different drugs that we were working on, but it helped me to gain that aspect. I majored in biology, and the Air Force put me in transportation. Imagine that. I minored in chemistry and still in logistics. Imagine that. But it was that experience of biology, chemistry, transportation, logistics, resource management that actually finds me where I am today. In corporate America, I was able to take all of those types of things and put them to task and sit in the room with those that were masters at marketing, those that were masters at operations, bringing product to the marketplace and doing things within our community. But one of the things that I saw in corporate America, and you've experienced this as well, is that they want us to be their consumers, but they don't want to bring any education to us. They want us to consume their products, but they don't want to do anything deliberate or invest back into our communities. It was the toughest time sitting around the boardroom, and I'm the only person that looks like me in the boardroom. And we're having these discussions about why should we do more business? Why should we do more business investing in the African-American community? They had the roughest time trying to understand what I was trying to share with them, even when I used visual aids, even when I gave them the experiences, even when I took them to places. They had a difficult time trying to grasp who we were and why we needed investment. And so sitting at that table, I tried to do what I could to make an impact at each and every level, to the point that they asked me to build a field force of 545 sales representatives. And one of the things that came back to me from my team was that we can't find African Americans that can fit and do this job. And I put the task on them to don't come back to the room until we find them. And so at the end result was 245 African Americans, a part of Novartis now, because of what we did as a field force. Those are the types of things that I tried to impact on the inside of corporate America. And so now that brings us to the shift to being an entrepreneur. I've always had the edge or the itch to be an entrepreneur, but didn't quite understand what I was going to end up doing. And so even today, I've been what people would call a serial entrepreneur, from the point of starting working on business plans for storage units back when I was 20, 21, landscaping businesses, doing these types of things along the way, and opening up pen shops and opening up things, t-shirt factories, opening up all types of things. And as I moved through it, it was a learning experience from one thing to the next. And so along the way, I spent some time in telemedicine. And so my PhD is actually, my dissertation was on telemedicine. And this is before telemedicine was hot. I'm talking about 2012, 2013. Nobody was really talking about telemedicine. But I was doing and now my dissertation is one of the most downloaded dissertations over the past 2 years, because everyone wants to know more about telemedicine. My dissertation was the augmentation strategy for the shortfall of healthcare professionals by utilizing telemedicine. And so from that particular perspective, I got into diagnostic space. And when I got into the diagnostic space, it actually changed the game, because I met Melvin Farrington, who is my business partner. And we've been together now probably about 8 years, just working on different types of things, initiatives, and particularly in the medical space, the consulting space. We've gone into physician practices, and we've seen where physicians have invested in a $45,000 piece of equipment and never used it. We've gone in and we've seen how they've gone in and they've invested in things and weren't able to bring it to its optimal level. And so we've been able to consult with them and help with them along the way to get them onto the right track. And then we got to the point where it was right at the COVID time, and we said we needed to do something. We needed to do something that could have a greater impact. And so that's where KMA62 and Gold Coast Diagnostic came into fruition. And so when you look at where Gold Coast Diagnostics is, Gold Coast Diagnostics is a laboratory that's built in the community. We built it in Forest Park. We built it, we've hired Albany State chemists, Morehouse chemists, Delta State chemists. We've hired people that look like us so that you can understand what we're trying to do, because we know that we're just as smart. I came up on that same side that you did. We got to be 2, 3, 4 times better. I came up on that same side. So we made sure that we put the Q into quality. And we're omegas too, so that we can always put the Q into quality. I digress. So anyway, we put the Q into quality. We started working with our team, and we said we always want to have an inspection mindset. We always want to be ready for an inspection. And so we work with our teams on how do we do that? But every day we're living for, okay, when is somebody going to come in and inspect what we do? Well, guess what? They came in July of last year. They came in, they sat at the table with all the binders and went through everything. And at the end of the day, they came back and said, Dr. McKinnon, we can't find any discrepancies at all with your laboratory. We were extremely excited because that's the type of thing that we're living for. And that's how we're positioning the lab. And we're going out and we're marketing the lab as Black-owned lab. We're marketing it as a disabled veteran-owned lab. We're marketing as a disadvantaged lab. We're doing those types of things, but we know that we're superior to LabCorp and Quest and what they do. We're not as big as them, but you hear physicians talking about it all. Wish I could get rid of LabCorp. I wish I could do something different. Because number one, they're coming after our patients. They're coming after people that look like us, and they're putting them under collections. They're doing things to degrade what we're trying to build up. So they're going against this. We're trying to get rid of poverty. They're trying to put it back on us. We're about generational wealth. They're trying to get us to not think about spend our money all the time. And so when I think about the types of things that we've done, we've built the lab, we've been we consider ourselves to be real successful, but this is not a stopping point. We believe in some characteristics that are very important to growing a business. I spoke about the financial piece, and that's, to be successful in business, you have to understand the numbers. You have to understand the numbers in your home. And the numbers that I heard in my home was, honey, how do we get to the end of the month? My mom was a teacher, and she used to, for some reason, they would get paid on December the 15th for the holiday. And that was the last check until February the 1st. And so they talked about, okay, we wanted to do something special for the kids, but still we had to make it through January in order to get to that next check. And so I started principles from a financial standpoint that says, how do we make sure that that is not an issue? How do we turn this around so that we can make sure that we're not working for our money, but our money is working for us? There's some things that you can do in order to build principles of wealth and principles that allow your money to work for you while you're sleeping. Imagine that, making money while you're sleeping. A crazy concept, but it's a doable concept. We have to move away, I believe, from the thought process of day to day and month to month and begin to think about generational wealth. Think about generational thinking. It's generational thinking. It's how do we do that as a community? It's now the community needs to begin to think about generational wealth, not just individually, but the community, and think about, okay, how do we then tie back to the motherland? Because I have to tell you that the name Gold Coast Diagnostics actually comes from Ghana. So we spent time in Ghana. Melvin and I took a trip over to Ghana, spent time there, came back inspired, came back with new knowledge, came back with things that we were taught here, but erased over there because we got new knowledge about how things are operating. And so we came back so inspired, it felt like the ancestors came back with us. And so that's why we named the laboratory Gold Coast Diagnostics. So we carry it with us every day. And so the reason that we carry it with us every day, and I'm saying that is because when I think about community generational wealth, I think about tying the diaspora back together, right? Mending it back together. Dr. Stroman, you talked about international, nothing better than trying to knit the diaspora back together, because there's over 1.6 billion of us. 1.6 billion, and they acting like it's only 2 or 3. They got us divided because the great experiment worked. But I'm here to tell you that great minds, the next time that we have a pandemic, guess what? We're gonna have great minds in the room putting our own vaccine together. Great minds in the room putting our own cures together. That's the vision that we have as it relates to this. And we're just starting. We're just starting. There's some principles that we're building the business off of. We're building the business off of being obsessed, right? When you think about defining your roadmap to success, it's important to make sure that you're obsessed with staying in your lane. I heard you say it earlier. You got to understand that you're going to hear opportunities. You're going to hear bigger opportunities, richer opportunities than the road that you're on. But sometimes you got to stay on the road that you're on. I did an experiment this morning. I pulled out a compass, pulled out some yardsticks, because I wanted to see if I got off track by 10 centimeters, what would it do for me? So I drew a straight line across the floor and I went about 10 yards. And at the end of the 10 yards, I was off of my goal by 3.5 meters. You see how exponential that begins to happen? And this is what focus is so important to what you do. You got to be very obsessed with it. So that you make sure that as you begin to mend your business together and you're thinking about where your strategy, your strategic direction is, you enable yourself to be successful. With that focus, success will end up finding you. Without focus, failure will find you. Failure will find you. And it'll knock on your door and keep knocking on your door. So we have to understand how to be obsessed with our focus so that we don't fall for the sexy thing or the hotter thing or the thing that looks like my ship just came in, because it'll take you off track. See, you can see the thought that I've always thought, well, why don't I chase these things? Because I believe if I move over to the other lane, I can do it better and faster. And yes, you might be able to, but you're going to lose some steps in the way, some steps towards your progress. So it's important to kind of just stay focused and keep moving towards that. Now, what I'm telling you, though, is don't take your eye off of the opportunity, because God will make a way. God will find a way for that opportunity. If that's the right opportunity for you, God's going to find a way to put it in line with where you're going. But sometimes we have to be good stewards about the strategy that God has put in our life. And so I add to that your mastery. Okay, I talked about your obsession. Now I'm going to talk about your mastery. Right. So now we have to, and Dr. Stroman, watch my 20 minutes. Don't let me go over. All right. So your mastery, you have to make the mistakes and don't forget them. Right. You got to recognize warning signs when they start sneaking around you again. When they start sneaking around you, you got to keep your surveillance up on those mistakes so that you don't duplicate or replicate them over again. But a mistake is good because it'll actually help you on the next time that you see the same type of thing. So you got to really be focused on your obsession of and your mastery of the mistakes that you make. Scrutiny. You have to make sure that you are you can scrutinize your resources, right? And when I talk about resources, I'm talking about the dollars that you have to grow your business. I'm talking about your time, the people that you work with, all those types of things. But one of the things that happens is that, people can steal your time. People can derail you with coming with you things that are not in line with what you're trying to get accomplished, or maybe they don't bring it to you as expeditious as you actually need that type of thing. And so you have to make sure that you're a good scrutinizer of time. I had one person tell me, I was on a plane. I was flying from California back to New Jersey. And this person was the COO of Metropolitan Life. And I was sitting next to him. We were talking to him. And she said this. She said, Kevin, the way to get to an executive is to make sure that you ask the executive for no more than 10 or 15 minutes. I said, how do you mean? She said, many people come to me to ask for my time, but they want an hour, they want 30 minutes. I don't have that to give. And so I can't sit with, it's not that I'm trying to be mean, but I have to make sure that I guard my time, because people will take your time. And next thing you know, you've gone through the day and you haven't accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. And so with that, the last characteristic that I'll give you, and then I'll give you what the Gold Coast does, is your weight class, right? We talked about your obsession, We talked about your mastery. We talked about your scrutiny, and now your weight class. You have to operate above your weight. In any industry, you have to find out where is average, and then you've got to start operating above the average. So how you hire people's got to be up there above the average. You just can't hire anybody. You got to hire the best of the best above the average. You got to hire world class. You got to perform world class. Your strategy's got to be world class. You got to do things that are world class in nature so that you can operate above your weight. As business leaders, we have to make sure that we're not looking like we're average, because nobody wants to do business with you if you're looking like you're average. Right? If you're giving average customer service, average customer experience, nobody really wants to work with. They might not tell you right away, but they really don't want to work with you. So it's important to make sure that you're doing that. And so I have to give you this piece on Michael Jordan, right? So it was after a game. He was shooting, he was doing his thing, and he had 6 3-pointers in this game. The reporter came back to him and said, "Hey, Michael, you hit 6 3-pointers in the game. You could be the best 3-point shooter in the game." And Michael responded. He said, "I didn't choose to be the best 3-point shooter." Imagine that. He didn't choose. And so sometimes we have to punch above our weight, right? So those would be the 4, for time's sake, those would be the 4 characteristics that I would give you. And lastly, what I would do is just introduce you to our lab, Gold Coast Diagnostics. We do anything from pharmacogenomics. We use PCR testing, right? We use polymerase chain reaction, which is what a lot of people know now because of COVID. They know that tests for COVID, but we also use that particular analyzer to actually dig into urinary tract infection testing. We dig into nail fungus and wound care. We can get into other molecular areas as well. We do COVID plus flu as well, but those are the areas that we work on with the PCR testing. It's really cutting edge types of testing. It actually, if you think about what you're using today, what physicians use today, they're using a dipstick and maybe they'll send it out to get a culture. Well, the culture normally comes back and the studies say that it takes 3 days to grow something out, right? So they're usually coming back in 4 or 5. And at the height of COVID, some of these tests were coming back in 10 days. But physicians have to prescribe something to help the patient. So you could actually put a person on something for 10 days and it's the wrong thing, right? And you could actually not fix the problem for 10 days if you're waiting for that to come back. And so we do that type of test because our results come back within 24 to 48 hours. So game changer. And that's why Centera Hospital was utilizing us. All 17 hospitals was using us to actually do what we do. And so we also do toxicology tests. That's our bread and butter is drug toxicology confirmation testing. So we do that there and our results come back pretty fast. The thing that makes us different is that we have scientists that actually look at each and individual report so that we can actually get the results back to physicians. So when you look at our business, we're in Forest Park. We love what we do. We're excited about the things. And hopefully you see the journey, right? The journey that brought us to this particular point. I'm excited about what we do and what you do. What you see is what you get. This is the passion that you get as it relates to what we do, because we know that we're onto something and we've got great vision for the future. And we're looking forward to really having good relations with Dr. Stroman and what he's doing and those types of things. And so we're excited about that as well. And so once again, thank you, Dr. Stroman, for giving us just a little bit of time to talk to the group about what we do and how we do it. And thank you very much for that time and look forward to next time.
Oh my goodness, Dr. McKinney, you awesome. Everybody in the chat, put some fire in the chat. Can you hear me, Dr. McKinney?
Yes, I can hear.
Fire in the chat for Dr. McKinney. My goodness, you knocked it out the park, sir. Hopefully you can stay around because I know we have a lot of people who like to have some questions for you in Q&A, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Outstanding. Right. Wow, everybody put some claps in the chat for Dr. McKinney. My God, see what you would have missed? See what you would have missed? This is why I love the collaboration of beautiful people like you just heard from Dr. McKinney. I love it, I love it, I love it. This is what it's all about. Well, we have another wonderful person that's coming up. And remember when I talked about that triangle? You remember we talked about headquarters first. The second thing was taking care of your billion-dollar temple. And then we talked about the financial piece. You see what Dr. McKinney hit on that financial piece? All comes back around to the triangle. Okay, can't get away from it. But right now, I want to introduce you to another wonderful, wonderful person. And you know, it's interesting because her assignment is so specific because it's beautiful because she is a pediatrician. And you know how we feel about taking care of the little people. I remember going to schools and doing workshops with these elementary schools, and I love the little people. And what she does is so vitally important, and she also has the entrepreneur connection as well. So let's bring up this wonderful lady, another OQP. Remember what it stands for, only quality people, okay? Let's bring up Dr. Yolanda Whyte. Dr. Yolanda Whyte, come forth, my sister, and share your knowledge and wisdom with all these beautiful people.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Stroman, for having me. Thank you, Mr. Maddox, for inviting me as well. To God be the glory. My journey as a physician is divinely inspired. The words physician heal thyself has special meaning. Happy Black History Month. You know, we're very proud people, and I've also been inspired by the first documented physician in world history. If anyone knows who that is, quickly put it in the chat. But he was an African, and Hippocrates by 2,500 years, and his name was Imhotep. The oldest medical documents in the world was discovered in Africa. It was known as the Ebers and the Edwin Papyrus. It was named after the explorers, and it recorded healing remedies, such as one using cow dung to cure eye disease. How did they know that it was rich in vitamin A? I also want to acknowledge Dr. Sebi, who was not a medical doctor, but he was a Black shaman from Honduras. His birth name was Alfredo Bowman, but he actually had serological evidence of curing dozens of ailments, including sickle cell anemia, lupus, herpes, HIV, AIDS, cancer, and others. In traditional medicine, it's frowned upon to say words like cure and heal. Instead, we say treat, manage. And because of that, he was a threat to many. But if you're a healer, you're going to heal. And this means incorporating all healing modalities, not just pharmaceuticals, but also nutrition, behavior, environmental, lifestyle changes, and habits that will hopefully lead to generational health in a similar way that we think of generational wealth. Many conditions that run in the family are not necessarily genetic, but it's due to the lifestyle factors and the social determinants of that we are influenced by. Healthy lifestyle changes ought to be instituted from the time of conception. Yes, as soon as you find out you're pregnant, ladies. And this first trimester is actually the most important period of your whole entire life. This is when your tissues and organs are just starting to develop. And as a pediatrician, I'm completely invested in and passionate about nurturing children. They heal me. Kids have a certain energy level that keeps you young. And 90% of the time, children get better. So that motivates me as well. So, but children today are faced with an increasing number of health threats. Many are dealing with chronic medical conditions. Those who are my age and been around for about half a century, remember when, times we barely went to the doctor, but now, according to the CDC, about half of Americans are on a chronic medication. We have pharmacies all over the place in every supermarket. Children today are growing up around autism centers, cancer centers, stroke centers, and dialysis centers in every hood. Our life expectancy is decreasing now down to 77 years. Prior to that, it plateaued for about the past decade. It was a long time ago when we thought that, children would outlive us. And according to the Bloomberg Global Health Index, the United States, we rank about 35th. It's embarrassing because we spend more on healthcare than any other country. And this just means that we have a lot of work to do because healthy people take extra steps to protect ourselves And this is because our body is in a constant state of biological warfare. And I don't mean to make it sound dramatic, but it's true. And we have to be armed up and stay ready so we don't have to get ready. It's survival of the fittest. It's Sparta. Guys, let's do this because, you know, we have cancer cells circulating throughout our body right now. Not to mention we have bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi, free radicals. The CDC published a biomonitoring study of urine and blood that showed that our bodies are, and that our blood and urine are already, that our bodies are already contaminated with. But nevertheless, at the same time, our bodies are also in a constant state of healing and regenerating. Our white blood cells are in a constant state of destroying these harmful elements, kind of like Pac-Man eating at the dots. And I have a little secret to tell you all about white blood cells. It's the base of the microscope that's white. The cells actually have pigmented granules. We also have detoxification systems in our body, of which the skin is the largest one. Our sweat glands and hair help us to excrete toxins. Our liver is one of the most important detoxification organs because that's where a lot of the metabolic processes place. Helps our body to our skin. Our kidneys are also a very important detoxification organ. It helps us to excrete toxins in our urine. And as Dr. Maddox mentioned earlier, you know, we all know about hydration, how important that hydration is. We have antioxidants in our body. You know, my favorite is the glutathione system, and it's like a natural biological vitamin. For that reason, you know, I'm not a big fan of Tylenol. You know, in pediatrics, if a child has a temperature of 99 degrees, you know, normal body temperature is like 98.7 on average. But if a child is just slightly warm, I find many parents will call it a fever, and they'll just start automatically alternating Tylenol and Motrin like clockwork, not knowing that Tylenol decreases our glutathione levels. It's no wonder why so many children get sick all the time. In pediatrics is always an outbreak. Strep, flu, stomach viruses, you know, cold after cold, bronchiolitis. I mean, it just doesn't end, especially if they're in daycare. Strengthening that immune system for babies is key importance. Men are very lucky because your prostates actually produce zinc, which is a metal that's very important for our immune system. Vitamin D is made by the body when it's made in our skin, and it's made in our kidneys. And it's one of the most important vitamins, in my opinion, because it's not just important for your immune system, but it's also important for our bone development, and it supports the development of all and health of all our organs, including our mental health. You know, in fact, this time of the year, many people suffer from seasonal affective depression. That because we don't spend a lot of time outdoors and we have limited sunlight this time of the year. But also because of that limited sunlight, we have limited vitamin D levels. I can tell you that I do check vitamin D levels in patients, and I find that many of us who are more melanated, we tend to have low vitamin D levels, sometimes critically low in the single digit. Any number greater than 30 is normal, but that melanin, it protects us from getting skin cancer, but it also blocks that vitamin D. So, you know, if you guys haven't had your vitamin D levels checked, make sure you check it or just start taking supplements if it's not possible. Levels check. But back to melanin, you know, that's actually my favorite biological. It chelates heavy metals and toxins and help them to be getting out of the body. It supports development. It supports our immune system. It's anti-aging. It protects us. Do you see how amazing and divinely created the human body is? This is why I am not that all impressed by artificial intelligence. I mean, it's great, but nothing trumps natural biological intelligence. And now that we've been on this information superhighway for about 30 years, we have access to tons of health information to support us in living a healthy lifestyle. There are videos, recipes, documentaries, and even research articles available online. At least the abstract is available. Sometimes even you might have to pay like $30 or so, but at least you can get access to the, abstract. This wasn't the case 20, 30 years ago. And there are also health and fitness apps that you can enjoy to help benefit your health goals. I use one each day to help monitor my heart rate. There's another one I do exercise routines on. But knowledge is power, only apply it. And only if you do so on a regular basis to the point where it becomes an automatic habit that you share with others and you lead by example and pass it down to generations to do what I mentioned earlier, establish that generational health. And we focus on the child and we prioritize children, making sure that they're also taken care of at daycares and at schools. We definitely want to encourage breastfeeding people. Our breast milk contains a lot of human nutrients, as stem cells, antibodies, enzymes, antioxidants. I'm really not familiar with any other biological substance that is more nutrient rich. And also, if you ever meet a woman who is pregnant, please encourage her to donate her umbilical cord blood. It's also very rich in stem cells. And as we know, we have to be, a match. There are many stem cells can actually cure sickle cell. It's been able to cure certain types of blood cancers. Yeah, but you really do have to be a match. So please, and once a baby is born, you cut the cord, you extract the blood, and then it's a process where it can be used to. And also, I want to encourage everyone to be more cognizant about pollution because it's so prevalent in our natural resources and also in our consumer products that they're now considered ubiquitous. I do environmental health consultations where I help to protect people from pollution in the air, the water, homes. It's pretty much everywhere. I do advocacy work on several jurisdictions here on the state level, the city, county level, on the national level, because these are hidden threats. And by the time you actually develop symptoms of a disease, you already have end organ damage. So like I say, let's work on improving our biological fitness. Let's stay ready so we don't have to get ready. And I'm here if you need me. If you guys have any want to reach out to me, you can do so through my website. It's YolandaWhyteMD.com. It's my name. And don't forget Whyte is spelled with a Y and not an I. I want to thank you all. Gracious audience.
Wow, everybody put some fire in the chat. Dr. Yolanda, Dr. Yolanda, Dr. Yolanda, thank you so very much. And you know what's interesting, Dr. Yolanda, you said something that I say all the time when I'm doing seminars around the country, generational health. I love that. I teach that all the time because we don't think about it. We don't think about generational health. My God, you hit it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And remember, everybody, I don't have time to unpack it, but the spiritual side and the physical side, I said it earlier, they must kiss. Because if you got all that unforgiveness and bitterness and anger and all that stuff, it will affect you physically, mentally, and everywhere. So you got to make sure you take care of your spiritual immune system and your physical immune system at the same time, okay? Dr. Yolanda, what a wonderful, wonderful presentations. Don't go nowhere because we're going to open up in Q&A. We're going to bring up our next guest. I want to make sure she's okay as far as a little technical side here. Okay, wow, this has been fantastic. I love learning. I'm taking notes. I'm learning every day. Let me make sure she's okay. Hey, Dr. Lynn, are you with us?
I'm right here. Thank you.
All right. Okay, listen, everybody. Okay, I was so excited to talk to Dr. Lynn. I'm from, for those that don't know, I'm originally from New York, and I found out that she was from, we had such a pleasant conversation yesterday. And many people don't know, that's where I spent 27 years in New York and all that, Queens, New York. But anyway, let me do this. Now, again, guys, I can't give you the whole bio. I'm going to give you, matter of fact, she has an appointment soon. So I'm going to shorten it up. You're going to have a website, contact information, but she is going to talk about something that's critically important. And when it comes to this thing called the what? The colon, right? Now,
Yes.
let me just say a few things about her. She is Dr. Lynn O'Connor, a surgeon, Chief Division of Colon and Rectal Surgery, Mercer Medical Center, St. Joseph Hospital. More than 20 years. Another one of my words I love, preventative. I love it, I love it, I love it. Prevention, prevention, prevention. Okay, colon and rectal health. She's a speaker, lecturer. I mean, she's all over the place, featured in many publications and media outlets. You're gonna get her website, you're gonna do the deep dive, you're gonna get the whole picture, but for sake of time, I wanna introduce you to my new friend, Dr. Lynn O'Connor, and she is an amazing physician. And I want to thank in advance for lending us your knowledge and your wisdom to our listening audience. The floor is yours, my sister.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank you very much, Anthony, for having me here today. And for all the speakers, they've been absolutely amazing, the information they've given, and it's an honor and a privilege to speak to everyone. And as you said, I've been in colorectal cancer training for at least 20 years, taking care of my patients. And my mission really is to provide patients and the community with the foremost treatment, technology, and information that's related to preventative public health issues and my specialty, colon and rectal cancer. So I took the liberty to take one of my talks that I thought sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. And if I can put some pictures to my words, it may help the message that I want to send to people about the importance of colorectal cancer and colorectal screening prevention. So if it's possible, would I be able to share my screen and share my presentation?
Dr.
Can I
Bond?
hit share screen?
Yes, you will, doctor. Yes, I am now giving you share capabilities. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to hit share screen.
Should be
Bringing this
coming up
up.
shortly. Should have that. Yes.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you. Thank you for having me be here. And I'm going to jump right in. I like to make this informal. So if there's any questions, you can put your hand up and or put a question in the chat, and I'd be more than happy to address some of these issues. When you're looking at colorectal cancer is the third most common cancer that's diagnosed in the entire United States. Men have a slightly higher incidence than women, but it's kind of leveled out because women live a little bit longer than men. In 2023 alone, we're looking at a little over 100,000 new cases of colorectal cancer. And a third of that number is expected to die from colorectal cancer. And what's even more concerning is that even though colorectal cancer is found in the majority of people who are 50 years of age or older, we're seeing it in younger and younger patients as well too. About 12% of those people who are diagnosed will be younger than the age of 50. Now, the incidence of colorectal cancer as a result of aggressive screening, getting patient education, the rates of colorectal cancer have been on the decline. So that's good news. But the bad news is not so for African Americans. We have the highest incidence and death rate of colorectal cancer than any other racial or ethnic group. And I want to emphasize that so we all know that African Americans have the highest incident and death rate of colorectal cancer than any other racial or ethnic group. So you may ask, why do we have the higher incidence? And there's several different thought processes that may go into that. Diet and nutritional factors. And you heard Dr. Stroman talking about hydration and eating right earlier. It's important for us to make sure that we're eating the proper foods. You are what you eat. Diets high in fat, diets high in sugar, the McDonald's, the Burger King, the Taco Bell, that's not what we need in our diet. We need more fruits, we need more vegetables, we need more fiber. The nutritional factor plays a significant role. Physical inactivity is another risk factor for colorectal cancer. We should be working out at least 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, or at least if you're going to do some vigorous exercise, you do that 75 minutes a day, 3 days a week. You don't have to go to a gym. just walking, gardening, dancing, and even you don't have to do it all in 30-minute spurts. You can do 10 minutes in the morning, park your car a little further than your job. You can take the stairs instead of the elevator. There are so many different things that you can do, and you can do it in the morning, you can do it in the afternoon, you can do it in the evening. Because what people don't understand is just simple exercise can decrease your incidence and occurrence of colorectal cancer. There was a study that looked at people who had colorectal cancer. They were diagnosed and treated, and these are people who it didn't spread. Just simply starting exercise decreased their risk of recurrence by 50%. Clearly, I don't have to tell you that smoking, hands down, is one of the number one causes of cancer for so many other cancers, including lung as well as colorectal cancer. So any kind of smoking, whether it's smoking, cigarettes, pipes, marijuana, that's an absolute no. And some of the things we don't think about for being a higher incidence of colorectal cancer is lower use of diagnostic testing. It's important that you understand the tests that are out there for you and why you need to advocate for yourself to get your screening colonoscopy. So I'm going to go through some of the variability in screening rates and some of the different tests that are out there. And there's also misconceptions of why we don't get screened. And I can understand the mistrust of the medical society, especially with incidences such as the Tuskegee medical experiment, and just not having doctors that look like you, that you feel comfortable with, that you're able to understand cultural differences, cultural norms, and also some of the fears and insecurities and distrust that we have of the medical system. And also misconceptions of the procedure itself. Am I going to go to sleep? Am I going to wake up? Do I have to do the prep? Men sometimes have a very difficult way of dealing with the fact that the procedure and how the colonoscopy is performed. So there's so many misconceptions about the procedure that may stop us from getting the screening that we need to have. And that is the main reason why our death rates for colorectal cancer are higher, is because we're not being screened as often as other populations. We have got to make sure that we advocate for ourselves and understand the importance of getting screened. When you look at colorectal cancer diagnosed at a localized stage, that's an 84% 5-year survival. However, only 33% of cancers are diagnosed at such an early stage. So if we get screening and we diagnose these cancers early, that increases our survival rate. But you have to understand, only a third of people are actually getting screened early enough to make this difference. So when you're talking about screening, if you look to the far left of this, where you're looking at stage 0, that is the earliest you can detect a colorectal cancer. And that's a 95% survival rate, because that cancer is only confined to the wall of the mucosa and lining of the colon. Look at stage 1, it's a little bit more advanced. Stage 2, it still hasn't even broken through the wall. So we're still looking at early survival if you can get in there and get this cancer out early. And even more so if you can get this before it becomes a cancer and it's a polyp. When you start looking at stage 3, you're going to see that that cancer is through the wall. And that cancer has actually gone into the lymph nodes. So now we're starting looking at decreased survival. And by stage 4, it's gone through the wall to the lymph nodes and it's spread to other organs, such as the liver and the lung. And that's when you get 20 to 30% of people who may survive 5 years. So you've got to understand the importance of screening saves lives. And the earlier we can detect the colorectal cancer, the stronger we have the opportunity to save lives. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, why do I need to get screened, Dr. O'Connor? I feel good. I'm not having any problems. The issue is most colorectal cancers don't have any symptoms until they become advanced. And by that time, it may be too late for that early intervention. So when you're talking about advanced stages, you want to look for some signs and symptoms such as partial obstruction. So if you've got a cancer that's pretty large, you're going to feel some symptoms of obstruction. And what does that mean? That means you get a change in your bowel habits. So when your stools were nice once in a while, once they were formed, you were going every day, but now they're not as large. They're small, they're pencil thin. It's difficult for you to get them out. You're starting to feel constipated. Instead of going every day, you're going every other day. That's your change in bowel habits. You may actually experience some rectal bleeding, because sometimes when you have a tumor that's large enough and the stool slides through it, you're going to get some bleeding. And then you get to the point where you have abdominal pain. You're just not feeling right. And as a result, you get weight loss and there's a change in appetite. You don't feel as hungry as you do. You're getting full a lot quicker. So all of these things may be advanced stages. Now, it's not to say that if you have this today and it goes away tomorrow, we're looking at colorectal cancer. But if you have some signs and some symptoms, that should clue you into, let me go see my doctor. Let me talk, let me get a checkup. So when you're talking about who gets screened, there's risk groups. And the screening age was at once 50 years of age. We've dropped that down to 45 because we're seeing cancer in younger patients. My youngest cancer patient was 23 years old. So for average risk screening, who gets it? It's people who are 45 years of age or younger. That's minimal risk. So anyone who's 45 or younger has minimal risk of colon cancer. But we start screening at age 45. So low risk is someone who's 45 and has none of the symptoms, just you're simply 45 years of age. That's when you start getting screened. Moderate risk is someone who may have had a cancer before or a previous polyp. You've got a family history of colon cancer. And when I'm talking about family history, I'm talking about mom, dad, brother, and sister. Those are the people who are your first degree relatives. Now, it's important to know if your aunties or uncles, grandma, grandpa have it, but your first degree relatives, mom, dad, brother, sister. And you're moderate risk if you have some of those symptoms I talked about, such as rectal bleeding, constipation, change in bowel habits, abdominal pain, weight loss. That's when you're moderate risk. High risk are people who we know have certain genetic diseases or predispositions or inflammatory bowel disease like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease that's been longstanding. Those are the people who are high risk. So you think about, there are tons of screening tests that are out there. So which screening test is best for you and what you should do? And I'm sure there are people on this panel who probably had all or some of these screening tests. The first one is the fecal occult blood test. And that's that little test where you go in the bathroom, you get a popsicle stick and you fish out your stool and you put it on that little card and you send it away. That test done every year can be helpful, but it's only 69% sensitive. And the reason it's only 69% sensitive is because certain things can give you a false positive test, meaning the test says it's positive, but it's really not. And that's if you're eating foods such as beef, the blood in some of the red meat can falsely cause it positive. Beets can falsely cause it positive. Certain medications such as aspirin may falsely cause it positive. If you have hemorrhoids and you're bleeding, it can be a false positive. So I always tell my patients, any test is a good test, but there's some that are better. So if the only test you can get your hands on right now is a fecal occult blood test, do your fecal occult blood test. But understand that there are some tests out there that are better. The next one is the fecal immunochemical test. And that has 79% accuracy. And the reason why it's a little bit higher is because that test is specific for human blood. And it's specific only for blood that's in the lower intestine. So we're kind of narrowing it down, a better test. The other test, which I'll tell you, is a flexible sigmoidoscopy. And that's a test that only goes around half the colon. That's 70% accurate because you've got 5 to 6 feet of colon. And if you're only looking at a third of that, no one knows what's going on the right side of the colon. And fun fact, right, that's important to know for people who get flexible sigmoidoscopies, African Americans, for some reason, have more right-sided colon cancers than left-sided colon cancers. So that test may not be the absolute best one. And they tried to combine the fecal occult blood test and the flexible sigmoidoscopy together to give you somewhat of a better accuracy in detecting cancer. But again, remember, it does not look at the right side of the colon. And I'm sure we've all heard about the Cologuard, where you get, go, gone. That is a good test as well, but the problem is it's only 92% sensitive for colon cancer. but it's only 42% sensitive for precancerous polyps. And you want to get those polyps before they become a cancer. So that's why Cologuard may not be the proper screening test for you. I like colonoscopies, and the reason are because they are the only test that is both diagnostic and therapeutic. And it has 94 to 98% accuracy, which means if you see a polyp, that's something that you can diagnose, remove, and prevent that from going on to be a colon cancer. So see this, these are some of the screening tests that are really going to make the difference between life and death for us in the fight against colorectal cancer. This is a picture of the instrument that I use. That's a colonoscopy. You can see how long it is. And I said it's because we have 5 to 6 feet of colon. And that's the path that the colonoscope goes. And if you're looking at a sigmoidoscope, it only goes half the way. But you've got to be able to look at the left side, the right side, the middle, and the bottom. And the only way to be able to do that appropriately is with a colonoscopy. This picture shows some of the things that I actually see when I'm doing these procedures. And if you look at the polyp that's a little bit pale and the top one, it's fleshy, that's an early stage polyp. And if you have a colonoscopy, we're able to visualize that polyp and remove it before it becomes a cancer. That problem with the other tests is that polyp may not bleed at the time frame that you're actually having the fecal occult blood test. And polyps don't bleed every day. They don't bleed all the time. And if you're taking a piece of stool, that stool may not have the blood in it for you to be able to know that this is a polyp. And as I said before, Cologuard is only sensitive for colon cancers. It's on the high sensitivity is for colon cancers. So this is a polyp that we can remove. Now, if you look at the lower one, that one's a little more angry. It's a little more red. It's a little more worrisome. And that one could be progressing on to becoming a cancer. But all of these polyps can be removed with a colonoscopy that's going to prevent colon cancer. This is a picture of a patient who has a cancer. And you can see how large and how wide that colon cancer is. So that little area on the left side, that's the only part that's still available for stool to come through. So now you see why you have a change in bowel habits, where you might actually have some bleeding. Now you see why the stool may actually be a little bit smaller instead of formed. And now you see why you might get full a lot quicker because you can't evacuate the stool, you get constipated, you're backed up, you're not hungry, you're losing weight. So this is what you can see through the colonoscope, and you can see the part that's this tumor, and you can see the small part that's remaining, that's normal colon. So I would have to take that colon out. But there are risk factors that we have that we can control. We can avoid the diets that are high in saturated fats. Now, I'm not saying you can't have fun foods. I'm not saying you can't have a slice of pizza every now or a burger every now and then, but moderation is key. You don't want to have McDonald's every single day. You don't want to, even though it's a $1 value meal, and I know we're bordering a lot on a recession, you've got to make smarter, healthier choices. Excessive alcohol is important. The amount of alcohol that we drank over the last 2 years in the pandemic has skyrocketed because of depression, because of anxiety, because of fear, because of our coping mechanisms. But we ought to find other coping mechanisms that we can work with, such as avoiding a sedentary lifestyle. You don't want to be on the couch. We got Uber Eats. We have Uber. We can do everything that we need to do with just the simple phone in our hand. But this can affect us from being able to get out, exercise, go get our own food, do the things that we need to do. And I said before, smoking, hands down, that's just got to stop. There's no reason in this day and age that people are still picking up a cigarette, a cigar, a pipe, marijuana, or any kind of tobacco type of product to engage in that type of activity. So what do you want to do? You want to follow a healthy, well-balanced diet. We're talking about whole foods. And I know we hear this term whole foods. What is whole foods? People think whole paycheck. Whole foods really is just foods that almost as whole, they come as whole as they can from the ground. So if you're having, carrots, when you pull it up from the ground, if you can have things in their most natural state instead of a processed state, Because you can go to some food chains I will not name, but you can go there and you can get a salad. And then that salad, which is healthy, can become unhealthy in minutes, where you're drizzling all of that creamy sauce on it. You have candied almonds. You have all these high fatty substances in a salad. You want your food as whole and natural as possible. And you want high fiber, anywhere from 20 to 35 grams of fiber a day. You start out slowly but surely, don't do it overnight. You want foods that are low in saturated fat. You want your fruits. And I always tell my patients, eat the rainbow, because you can see there's a rainbow of color there. And if you're eating the rainbow, you know you're eating healthy foods. So you want to try to start looking at the Mediterranean diet. Oil, olive oil, nuts, seeds, fruits, fish, whole grains, poultry. You want to be low on red meats, and you want low fat dairy products. So this is how we go to move forward to trying eating and our way into health and screening our way into health. So this is my contact information. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can reach me on my website. You can find information on my website. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. It's my mission and my goal to prevent colon cancer, to educate the community and the public and protect my patients. So I thank you, Dr. Stroman, for having me here. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to try and take some.
Wow, wow, wow. My goodness. Listen, everybody. I know y'all probably gonna say, I wish I would have had my whole family listening to this knowledge today. But that's okay. We got you covered. It's been recorded. But here, this is why we do what we do. Everybody in the chat, for my dear sister, please put some fire, because another outstanding presentation that's critical in the times that we're living in right now. Show Dr. Lynn some love. I applaud you, Dr. Lynn. Fantastic. I love your crusade. I love it. I love it. I love it. And everybody know me. I'm all about the crusade. Okay. So let me do this here, because how many minutes do you have, Because I know you have to be someplace soon, Dr. Lynn.
I've got about 20. I got about 15 to 20 before I can get there.
Fantastic. So let me do this, guys. Let me wrap this up. Here's what I want you to know. I'm going to summarize. You remember in the beginning of our event today, I talked about the success triangle. Let me summarize. Everything begins by mastering headquarters. The most powerful pharmacy with an F is between your ears. That's where it's at. Because once you realize that you have dominion, the things that you've heard from these distinguished guests, then you're in control and you're not out of control. I used to be like that, eating anything. But when I learned about live food, because guess who designed your body? God did, right?
Yes.
So I call it God's dietary plan is a wellness plan. We picked up the world's health system. And as a result of this, this is why we have an epidemic of chronic disease and unfortunately death. The enemy is using food to kill God's people. Yes, we don't think about it that way. But my three distinguished guests can tell you, we're dying from a knife and a fork. But here's the good news. There's so many millions of recipes out there. I eat good, I enjoy my food, but it's healthy. And here's the benefit. When you do the right thing, mentally you feel good because you say, you know what, I'm taking care of my $1 billion temple. Spiritually you feel good because you know God is smiling at you because you're not eating all that destructive food. Physically you feel good because you just feel good because you took care of your $1 billion temple. That should be, I say, count the benefits of that. When you master this, see, I go to those stores and process centers, don't bother me no more because I'm in control. And like she said, moderation is the key. You don't have to be in bondage, but eat like a king and a queen, okay? Can we do that? Eat like a king and a queen and not like a peasant all the time. Can we do that? Because one thing we also know, and I think our three distinguished guests can vouch for this, in certain communities, we have food deserts. You think that's an accident? I'm gonna leave that alone. So the first thing is mastering headquarters. Once you master that, it's fun. Sometimes what I do, Dr. Lynn, I go to stores, go to the process section with all the candy and the cookies, and I walk down there on purpose and say, I got control. You can't tempt me. I do that on purpose to let them know I got dominion. So you want to shop the perimeter that you heard today.
Exactly. You shop the perimeter. That's a whole nother story. Yes, shop the perimeter.
That's it. Now, the second thing is this $1 billion temple. Folks, we'll be doing a whole session on that. When you love yourself, appreciate who you are, then you're going to take better care of yourself. One of the challenges that we don't value ourselves like we should. When you got that self-esteem and God-esteem and know how valuable you are, and you say to yourself, how dare I abuse this $1 billion temple that has been fearfully and wonderfully made, everything by design, these 5 defense systems, the heart, a certain place, the liver, the pancreas. Wow, who did that? Who did that? And we have the nerve to abuse it. But again, no condemnation, we love you. It's okay if you did it in the past, but your future is more important than your past. So the second part of our crusade is what? Taking care of the $1 billion temple, because listen, I teach the 120 club. I don't have this minimum thinking, okay? I teach them 120, go for it. Why minimize your life by saying, I'm supposed to live 60 years? What? And your cells begin to agree with that, and all of a sudden you have diminished your life because of your thinking, because your cells are eavesdropping on your thoughts, okay? And the third part that we talked about briefly, and Dr. McKinney hit that out the park too, is about the financial piece. Now, you know, I got a financial background, but I'm gonna mention 3 things very quickly, and then we're gonna do Q&A. Number 1, folks, there's an epidemic in our community by not having a comprehensive estate plan. What does that mean? Well, everybody should have a will, live in trust, health, financial power of attorney. Those are 4 things. And guess what? When you talk about these things, people say, I got a will. That's not enough. That's only 25%. So we have a law firm that does this all over the country. That's a part of our dream team. Simple, easy to do. Other thing is something called life insurance. I changed the name, call it love insurance. We got all this fear. Where did this fear come from? Okay? About life insurance. I call it love insurance. You're not planning to leave here. That's what holds you back. Folks, why we quote things leaving an inheritance and we don't have these documents in place? So we have experts on the dream team that can help you with that. Again, I'm not an insurance person. I'm not an attorney. We just form a dream team with experts that can help you. If you need assistance, let me know. Okay? And the last part on the financials, we have to destroy debt. It's increasing domestic violence, divorces, stress, depression, mental illness, this pressure. And one of the things I teach also about the spiritual side, man, praying and worshiping God and meditating, there's a lot of healthy ways to deal with this stuff. Okay, we supposed to be the happiest people on the planet. That's what we're supposed to be. So let's do this right now. Dr. Vaughn, come on up. Listen, we're gonna have Q&A. If anybody have any questions for our distinguished guests, because all 3 of them knocked it out the park, you guys got some serious education today. You can proceed by asking questions to these wonderful people. We're not gonna keep them long because they're very, very busy people. And if you have questions, you go ahead and put in the chat and Dr. Vaughn will go ahead and share that question that you might have.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dr. Stroman. Thank you so much. What a powerful time from the doctors today. All those out there, give them a round of applause in your own right there. Thank you so much for your wisdom and most of all, your time today as well. Powerful, powerful time. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of ways you can do this. You can, those online, can put your question in the chat, or if you guys want to come off of mute and ask your question and then go back on mute for the question, just direct that to the doctor that you would like to have there as well. We would give you a chance to do that as well. But one of the first questions I have, though, Doc, for the doctors out there is how important is it to get your blood work? I'm talking about your full range blood work done on a regular basis. That's one of the questions that came from the network. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's extremely important to make sure that you have that done because it's part of your annual physical exam. So what we need to be doing is having our annual physical exam with our primary care physician, which is a full set of blood work, which is going to look at your CBC, your CMP, your cholesterol levels. All those things are extremely important. And then for men, they need to have a PSA level to check their prostate. That's part of screening. Women need to have cervical exams. They need to find pap smears. They need to follow up with their gynecologists. They need to have mammograms, dental appointments as well as vision appointments. All of these things are part of our health maintenance, and that should be done on a regular basis under direction of your primary care physician, who should be sending you out to these specialists. So that's key. I mean, we do everything we need to do for our children, and Dr. Whyte can talk to that, because we take our kids to their annual pediatrician visits, but we have to do the same thing for ourselves. So if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be around to take care of the people we love and care about. So that's all part of regular health maintenance.
Amen. Thank you so much. Also, too, Dr. Stroman and Dr. Zelaso too as well. I want to make sure we got, there's a request for Dr. McKinnon's contact information. I'm not sure if he's able to share that with us earlier, but we want to make sure we get Dr. McKinnon's contact information as well, recorded and live on the network today as well. Thank you so much. Back to you, Doc.
Well, I also want to add to what Dr. O'Connor said, and yeah, that's an amazing piece. But yes, and also make sure make sure you check your vitamin D levels as well, and also we check our thyroid, and also pediatrics we do this. Because sometimes, you know, children may look a little different or maybe developing differently from than their. So you would never really know until you actually go through the developmental milestone. And guys, just remember, early detection saves lives. Make sure that you do your self-breast exams, whether you do it every single month. And remember that you have to press hard on your breast to actually pump. And men, no exemption from you either. Men have to do your testicular exams every single month. There's a lot of information online that will show you how to, you know, feel for it. So yeah, guys, now time for us to, you know, take all this into consideration. And also, I'm glad that everyone had touched on nutrition. And I do want to just briefly highlight our infant nutrition and our overall nutrition, because right now many people are hearing about Gerber facing a class action lawsuit because their baby foods contain high levels of heavy metals, lead, mercury, arsenic, cadmium, but it's not like they're adding it to the baby food. It's because of the agricultural processes. Well, there was a recent baby food study done. It was done by Healthy Babies Bright Futures, and it showed that about 95% of our baby foods are actually contaminated with heavy metals. And this is important because many parents would say, well, I'll just, you know, make my own food. And I'll go to the produce section of the supermarket or go down the aisles of the supermarket and I'll just make my own. But guess what? 95% of regular store-bought foods are also contaminated. There have been some parents who went out of their way to sue the baby food companies, and, you know, the lawsuits were dismissed because, you know, everything is so political and it involves large corporations that you really, this is why I'm so passionate about advocacy and you know, actually making our voice heard on a public.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I have a question.
Okay.
Well, first, I'd like to say thank you, doctors, for sharing today. We really appreciate it. Gained a lot of information and knowledge. The question I have is because, again, you said there's cultural differences, et cetera, et cetera. Do any of you offer or have a checklist of certain questions that we should be asking new doctors that we're interviewing, basically, that will make sure they're covering things that we need to be addressed, that they actually perform certain tests that we need to have performed, something like that?
Anybody?
That's an excellent question. And you know, I think that's something that I'll actually look into doing and trying to put together, because some people don't know, you don't know what you don't know. And that's
Exactly.
That's also important for you to be able to have a physician that you feel comfortable with and a physician that you can ask these questions of. And ideally, your physician should be telling you what you need to have done. But sometimes that's not enough. And what you're asking for is information so you can advocate for yourself. And that's key. So in general, the things that we talked about, just your whole general physical exam, your blood work, your colonoscopies, your breast exams, your mammograms, your dental exams, your eye exams, that's the greatest place to start right there. In addition to making sure that you're eating right, you're exercising, and taking care of your heart as well. Because heart disease is one of the #1 killers of African Americans as well too. So that's important for you to make sure that you're getting EKGs when you're in your 50s. So those are some of the things that you look for to talk to your primary care physician about. But I think that's an excellent question.
Thank
So
you.
this is Dr. McKinnon. So from the laboratory perspective, this kind of works down this particular pathway. We've actually developed some wellness questionnaires that allow you to be able to have conversation with your clinician about what's going on, because sometimes you don't know the signs and symptoms of what's going on for yourself. And so we've labeled them in different areas, right? We have a respiratory health and wellness questionnaire. We have a urinary tract health and wellness questionnaire. So these are just a couple of tools that are available that might be used by you to at least have a good conversation with your clinician, because sometimes what we see people going through chronic UTI syndrome. And so with this, it kind of identifies and helps clinicians be able to pinpoint, okay, now we need to have this discussion and let's try to develop a treatment success plan that will actually help you with this.
Beautiful.
That's great. Thank you so much. And Dr. McKinnon, your contact information, did you drop that in the chat yet?
I have not,
And you
but
should.
I'll go ahead and so you can reach me at kevin@goldcoastdiagnostics.com. So gold is just like silver and gold. So gold and then coast and then diagnostics with an S.com. Okay, and then the website is the same, www.goldcoastdiagnostics.com. And the earlier question on the blood test, I thought it was important to share that since we're in this post-COVID environment, and being in the post-COVID environment, over the past 3 years, many people have had experiences with telemedicine or telehealth. And one of the trying things with telemedicine and telehealth is that they can't draw your blood using telemedicine. And so, make sure that you're encouraging your family members, and I don't know if you're the matriarch or the patriarch of the family, but make sure you're encouraging them, even if they do that telemedicine visit. Make sure that if there was something that was ordered or a test that was ordered, that they follow up on that. It's so important that we follow up on what the clinicians are asking us to do, because they have a reason for that, especially when it comes time for treatment success.
Beautiful. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. My goodness. All right. Any other questions before we let these wonderful doctors enjoy the rest of their Saturday? Anybody else?
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks, everyone. This is a great presentation. I am here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Does anybody have a referral or recommendation? I'm looking for a Black male primary care doctor that does allopathic and naturopathic medicine. My previous doctor I was with for 21 years is no longer doing that. That's what he did for 21 years. So I'm looking for someone to merge, someone who practices integrative medicine.
Okay. We have 2 people from Georgia here. If you have
It's
any
been a while since I've been in Atlanta, Georgia, but one of the things that you can actually do is if you go on your insurance plan may have some physicians that are listed there, and you can start calling around. And once you find someone who may know someone who can get you to that desired individual, that's one aspect. But the Atlanta area is one of the fortunate areas, since it's highly populated with folks that would fit that description. You should be able to locate someone.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, everybody coming in the chat. So many loves and outstanding and oh my goodness, superlatives. I understand why. Well, listen, everybody, if there's no other questions, let me just say this. I'm gonna leave you with the statement that I'm gonna turn it back off for my dear friend, Dr. Vaughn. We have been thoroughly blessed this evening, folks. And this is why.
Excuse me, Anthony, if you can you indulge me one more minute?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yes, as I stated, I'm looking for a primary care doctor, and I had a peculiar experience a couple of weeks ago that I shared with Dr. Whyte. I on recommendation referral, I went to see another doctor that I wanted to maybe have him become my primary care doctor, and they wanted me to sign some papers saying that he would be my primary care doctor, and I had not even seen the guy. Is this usual and customary? Needless to say, I didn't see him because I didn't feel comfortable doing that. Because it was pretty much an interview. I was going to see him maybe for a second opinion, and if I liked him, then I would commit to him being my primary care doctor. But I'd never heard of such a thing where they wanted me on an initial visit to just commit and put it in writing. They had paperwork for me to sign that he would be my primary care doctor. Is that I think that's unethical at best. Feedback, please.
First of all, that's not usual and customary, but you just have to be careful about what they're maybe asking for. There's no legally binding contract between that you have to stay and see a certain doctor. When a doctor meets with you, there is a patient-doctor relationship at that point in time. Even sometimes if they speak with you on the phone there, you've established a patient-doctor relationship. However, you do not have to stay with any physician that you're not comfortable with. Now, what they may have wanted you to do was to fill the forms out before you got there to facilitate your visit to make it a little bit more smoother. But you don't have to commit to having somebody take care of you that you've never met and you don't know and you're not comfortable with.
Amen.
Exactly. And I had already completed the paperwork like 2 weeks before.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you for that, Dr. Lynn. Thank you for the question, Brother Calvin. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much. All right, guys. I know you guys want to stay, but we're gonna have to wrap this up in a second, guys. Again, I can't say enough about the panel that we have been exposed to. And I appreciate everybody who joined because it says a lot about you. Empowerment and education is what our community needs, and that's what you got today. I want you to value it, and I want you to reach out to these wonderful people, and that's why we put this together. We'll be doing a lot of these because we do a lot of these all over the world. We put people together to bless you. That's what this thing is all about. But I will mention this one statement to all of you. There is a disease that we have to fight when it comes to taking care of our billion-dollar temple, and it's called procrastination. So let me say it this way. Procrastination is the assassination of your health and financial destination. You've got to go into action. It's all about execution. Hearing this information, this valuable information, worth millions of dollars today, but if you don't do nothing with it, all you do was hear some information. Life don't change until you change. Change does not change until you change. And my prayer for all of you to live a long, satisfied life. I want you to live long and I want you to live strong. That is your birthright. But the choice is up to you. And we pray that you make the right choice. With that being said, I want to thank you wonderful, wonderful, wonderful doctors. Thank you so much. I thank God for putting this together for us to share with our community. If there's no other questions, Dr. Vaughn, thank you so much, Dr. Vaughn, for hosting this with me. And all of you wonderful people, God bless you. Live long, live strong, and live your best life.
Oh, what a
God bless you all. Thank you so much.
amen.
everyone.
What a great
Appreciate
time,
you.
Dr. Stroman. Thank you so much, doctors. Appreciate your time. You guys are amazing. This is going to be all over the globe, ladies and gentlemen. Get back with Dr. Stroman for the record. We recorded this. This will be going out on YouTube. So the YouTube channel link will be coming to Dr. Stroman. So reach out to him so we can get that to you. And we make sure that you plant that all over your network as well, ladies and gentlemen. We are excited. Hey, this has been My Health, Your Health with Dr. Anthony Stroman and the wonderful doctors today. Thank you so much, Dr. McKinney. Thank you so much, Dr. O'Connor and Dr. Whyte. Thank you so much for your time today. God bless you.
Thank you.
Amen. God bless. Everybody have a great day and make it intentional today. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
We love you guys. Enjoy your beautiful day. We love you.
Love you.